share us round. Now tap that screen, tap it, tap that screen, yeah, tap it. It's your warm-up routine. Gang Gremlins on the scene. Gang Gremlins on the scene. Gang Gremlins on the scene. Gang Gremlins on the scene.
Welcome Gaga and Grumps to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says welcome Gremlins to the game grotto. Take a seat, grab your daily heart, claim your points and prepare to play.
Welcome Grumps to Wordle with Gaga.
Islam Bill says yesterday I attended Ray lesson and was marked absent. When I was in, can you mark me as present to our?
Welcome Islam Pill to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says haha, this is your Wordle lesson.
Gang Gremlins on the scene. Welcome Gremlins to the game grotto. Welcome Gremlins to the game grotto.
Gaga Grumps says welcome Gremlins to the game grotto. Take a seat, grab your daily heart, claim your points and prepare to play.
Now tap that screen, tap it, tap that screen, yeah, tap it.
Grumps says hello everyone.
Gang Gremlins on the scene. 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 Now tap that screen. Tap it, tap that screen, yeah, tap it. Gang Gremlins come and let's go. Now tap that screen. Tap it, tap that screen, yeah, tap it. Let's see those team stickers flow. Gang Gremlins on the scene. Now tap that screen. Now tap that screen. Now tap that screen.
Welcome Cuddle Cat to Wordle with Gaga.
Gang Gremlins on the scene.
Gaga Grumps says hey there Cuddle Cat. Are you ready to play Wordle? Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. V. Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Grumps says it jazzy high.
Race to the top like a thorn. Tap and don't stop like a thorn. Who will be crowned like a thorn? Gremlin renowned like a thorn. Fingers on fire like a thorn. Gremlins don't tire like a thorn. Hearts beat flying like a thorn. Gremlins defying.
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance. Gaga Grumps says your word starting with V, please cuddle cat. Gaga Grumps says vents you got. Gaga Grumps says a yellow S in need of a home. Carly says smile. Gaga Grumps says no problem, see you soon cuddle cat.
Welcome Carly to Wordle with Gaga.
Carly says snail.
Gaga Grumps says hi Carly.
Grumps says it Carly, welcome back.
Carly says small.
Gaga Grumps says small fits, no N for snail. Gaga Grumps says S lives at number 1 Wordle Street. A moved into number 3.
Welcome Oscar to Wordle with Gaga.
Carly says space.
Oscar says shark.
Carly says spark.
Carly says spark.
Gaga Grumps says no E for space.
Carly says spark.
Gaga Grumps says hi Oscar, shark works.
Welcome
Carly
Lily to
says
Wordle with
spark.
Gaga.
Lily says sharp.
Oscar says sharp.
Amelius Huffles says.
Welcome
Gaga Grumps says so near and yet
AMELISSHUFFELS
so
to
far.
Wordle with Gaga.
Amelius Huffles says.
JACK070715 says sharp.
Gaga Grumps says hi Lily and Alalia.
Welcome Jack to Wordle with Gaga.
Lily says shard.
Gaga Grumps says sharp it must be. Gaga Grumps says O and shard.
Grumps says it Lily Hayer.
Amelius Huffle says it Gaga hen Grumps.
It's playtime!
Welcome G to
Gaga
Wordle
Grumps
with
says
Gaga.
sharp and 4.
Don't let her lose! Grumps is on the buttons!
Good game.
Don't let him push yours! Are you ready to play?
Good game.
Let those stickers fly! Which team are you on? Team Gaga, give a cheer. Team Grumps, are you here? Team Gaga, are you ready? Team Grumps, are you steady? Game! Gremlins, let's go! Game! Gremlins, let's go!
Gaga Grumps says do the do for Gaga. Share the live chat for chat and shower her with roses and GGs.
Are you here? Team Gaga, are you ready? Team Grumps, are you steady? Game! Gremlins, let's go!
Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid. Gaga Grumps says treasure box up if you need a coin for your daily heart. Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. K.
Oscar says carts.
Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Like a thong, race to the top, like a thon. Tap and don't stop, like a thon. Who will be crowned like a thon? Gremlin renowned, like a thon. Fingers on fire, like a thon. Gremlins don't tire, like a thon. Hearts beat flying, like a thon. Gremlins defying.
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance.
Lights the fire, lights the fire, lights the fire.
Gaga Grumps says your word starting with K please Oscar.
Oscar says carts.
Gaga Grumps says carts you got.
Welcome Saint to Wordle with Gaga.
Oscar says anything I can think of.
Says Stole.
Welcome
Gaga Grumps
SRDWRLUTM
says
Jack to
yellow tea
Wordle
and
with
S in
Gaga.
need of homes.
Sure Dirt and Jack says Rosie cute.
Welcome SBZS to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says hi Saint, nice to see you.
Says hi.
Gaga Grumps says stole fits. Gaga Grumps says hi there SRD.
Naya says Stole.
Welcome Naya to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says hi Naya, how goes it?
Naya says him good.
Gaga Grumps says S lives at number 1 Wordle Street. T is still homeless. Gaga Grumps says thanks
Welcome
for
Jimmy
being
to
a daily
Wordle with
heart,
Gaga.
Oscar.
Jimmy says shunt.
Gaga Grumps says Jimmy in the house. Gaga Grumps says sliding in with a shunt. Gaga Grumps says shunt works.
Says shift.
Gaga Grumps says H moved into number 2 and T lives at 5. Gaga Grumps says shift is a good shout. Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
Good game.
Wordle with Gaga. Wordle with Gaga. Ra-ra-ra. Will the fireworks fly? A random star chosen by fate.
Good
Play your
game.
part. It's a live date. Wordle with Gaga. Wordle with Gaga. Ra-ra-ra. Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says Evil the Daily Wordle. I post mine on my page and would love you to share your results.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid.
A pretty sky. A Wordle with Gaga. A Wordle with Gaga. Da-da-da. A Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says thanks for being your daily heart, Jimmy. Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. T. Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Oscar says throw.
Says treat.
Race to the top like a thorn. Tap and don't stop like a thorn. Who will be crowned like a thorn? Gremlin renowned like a thorn. Fingers on fire like a thorn. Gremlins don't tire.
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance.
Gremlins define.
Gaga Grumps says your word starting with T please Sant.
Says treat.
Gaga Grumps says treat you got.
Welcome Ava Quaver to Wordle with Gaga.
Says audio.
Gaga Grumps says a yellow A in need of a home.
Ava Quaver says games.
Gaga Grumps says hi Ava welcome. Gaga Grumps says no plurals in Wordle Ava.
Welcome
Gaga
Muslin to
Grumps
Wordle with
says audio
Gaga.
fits.
Ms. Lynn says magic.
Gaga Grumps says I moved into number 4A still homeless.
CM Bumenleg says basic.
Gaga Grumps says good afternoon Muslin how goes it? Gaga Grumps says magic fits and will help with basic.
Says chain.
Gaga Grumps says we have a homeless C as well as A.
CM Bumenlag says chain.
Gaga Grumps says chain is a good shout. Gaga Grumps says chain for Wordle in 4.
Good game.
To the game grotto. Welcome gremlins to the game grotto. Welcome in guys. Settle down. Grab your heartbeat. Share us round. Now tap that screen.
Gaga
tap
Grumps
it, tap
says
it,
welcome
tap that
gremlins
screen,
to the
yeah,
game
tap it,
grotto.
tap it. It's
Take a seat,
warm
grab your
up.
daily heart, claim your points and prepare to
Game
play.
gremlins on the scene. Game gremlins on the scene. Game gremlins on the scene. Game gremlins on the scene. Now tap that screen. Tap it, tap that screen. Yeah, tap it. Game gremlins coming, let's go. Now tap that screen.
Gaga Grumps says treasure
Welcome
on
Cherry
site
Free
with
G
a point
to
in the game
Wordle with Gaga.
Let's see those team stickers flow.
Cherry Freezy says hi.
Game gremlins on the scene. Now tap that
Gaga
screen.
Grumps says if you haven't done it yet grab your daily heart while I set up the next word.
Now tap that screen. Now tap that screen.
Gaga Grumps says thanks for the follow Cherry.
Game gremlins on the scene.
Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says, what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. C. Ember Manlag says paint. Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. Why?
CM Bumenlag says yeast.
Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Welcome Sassy Princess Brooke to Wordle with Gaga.
Like a thumb, race to the top, like a thun. Tap and don't stop, like a thun. Who will be crowned like a thun? Gremlin renowned, like a thun. Fingers on fire, like a thun. Gremlins don't tire, like a thun. Hearts be flying, like
Gaga Grumps says sassy princess in the room to claim the crown. Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance. Gaga Grumps says your word starting with Y, please Grumps.
Grumps says yodel. Welcome Libs to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says yodel you got. Gaga Grumps says a greeno lives at number 2, in need of a home.
Miss Lynn says Forte.
Gaga Grumps says hey Libs, how you doing? Gaga Grumps says Forte fits. Gaga Grumps says E lives at number 5.
Says Mouse.
Gaga Grumps says bridge is 6 letters.
Ms. Lynn says Mousse.
Gaga Grumps says mouse works.
Says housey.
CM Bumenlag says house.
Gaga Grumps says we end in ooze. Let's check for traps.
says no traps.
Gaga grumps says I actually don't see any. Gaga grumps says house it must be.
Ms. Lynn says house only. It's playtime!
Gaga grumps says GG's for libs.
Don't let her lose!
Gaga grumps says GG gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
What's yours? Are you ready to play?
Good game.
Let those stickers fly!
Good
Which
game.
team are you on? Team Gaga, give a cheer. Team Grunts, are you here? Team Gaga, are you ready? Team Grunts, are you steady? Game! Gremlins, let's go!
Gaga grumps says dooba Gaga. Share the live chat the chat and shower her with roses and GG's.
Team Gaga, give a cheer. Team Grunts, are you here? Team Gaga, are you ready? Team Grunts, are you steady? Game! Gremlins, let's go! Game! Gremlins, let's go! Game! Gremlins, let's go!
Gaga grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next one.
Game! Gremlins, let's go!
Gaga grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. Gaga grumps says we are starting with A. C.
Welcome Larissa Joy to Wordle with
Gaga
Gaga.
grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Like a thong, race to the top, like a thon. Tap and don't stop, like a thon. Who will be crowned like a thon? Gremlin renowned, like a thon. Fingers on fire, like a thon.
Gaga grumps says hey there Larissa, how you doing?
Hearts be flying like a thon. Gremlins defying.
Gaga grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance.
Lights the fire, lights the fire, lights the fire.
Gaga grumps says your word starting with C please Larissa.
Larissa Joy says cause.
Gaga grumps says cause you got. Gaga Grumps says S&E live at number 4 and 5.
Larissa Joe says pose.
Jimmy says dance.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Gaga Grumps says poise fits. Gaga Grumps says no change. Gaga Grumps says thanks for doing your daily heart, Larissa.
Jimmy says dance.
Says tense.
Welcome Jazzy to Wordle with Gaga.
Jazzy says sense.
Gaga Grumps says dense still fits. Gaga Grumps says not an ends trap. Larissa Joy says these. Gaga Grumps says hi Jazzy welcome.
Jenny says these.
Gaga Grumps says these works.
Sophia says hi.
Welcome Sophia Smiley Face to Wordle with Gaga. Sophia says hi.
Gaga Grumps says Wordle in 4 Bs. Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
Good day. Good day.
A random star chosen by fate. Play a part, it's a live date. A Wordle with Gaga. A Wordle with Gaga. A Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says do you do the daily Wordle? I post mine on my page and would love you to share your results. Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next room.
A pretty sky. A Wordle with Gaga. A Wordle with Gaga. Da da da. A Wordle with Gaga. Ra
Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now.
Grumps says it Jimmy Hayer.
Gaga Grumps says how you disfay that Grumps.
Jimmy says at Grumps hey granddad.
Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. Q. Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Larissa Joy says quart.
Like a thumb, race to the top, like a thon. Tap and don't stop, like a thon. Who will be crowned like a thon? Gremlin renowned, like a thon. Fingers on fire, like a thon. Gremlins don't tire.
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance.
Grumps says at Gabin if Gabby, welcome back. Welcome Gavin with Gabby to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says Gab and Gabby in the house. Gaga Grumps says how goes it Gabby?
Gabin Withgaby says hi Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says your word starting with Q please Larissa.
Larissa Joy says court.
Gaga Grumps says court you got.
Gabin Withgaby says sending blessings to you today.
Larissa Joy says pivot.
Gaga Grumps says a green tea lives at number 5 Wordle Street. LA says point.
Gabin Withgaby says spent. Larissa Joy says Comart.
Welcome LA to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says point fits.
Gabin Withgaby says spent.
Larissa Joy says spent.
Gaga Grumps says N moved in next door to TMP needs a home. Gaga Grumps says spent works. Gaga Grumps says give a Gaga her fireworks.
Fireworks for Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says it's that time.
Explode 'em on her face, she's in a happy place. Fireworks for Gaga.
Welcome Chris Marvin to Wordle with Gaga.
Within 3, so gifts explode with glee. Fireworks for Gaga. Emojis make her happy, as in her face they slappy. Fireworks for Gaga. Fireworks for Gaga. From a single rose to a whole bouquet. Anything will be okay. If you can, that's okay. Smileys in chats to win the day. Fireworks for Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says my fireworks not work.
Fireworks
Good game. Good game.
Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Gaga Grumps says thanks for doing your daily heart, Gabby. Gaga Grumps says my lucky charm, Chris. Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now.
Welcome Spicy Dill Pickle to Wordle with Gaga. Grumps says at Chris Marvin, can you pop out and back on for every word?
Gavin Withgubby says CFKP.
Grumps says at Spicy Dill Pickle higher.
Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. Z. Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Gavin Withgubby says zebra.
Spicy Dill Pickle says at Grumps, hey, hope you're well.
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance.
Max Mayfield says zebra.
Welcome Max Mayfield to Wordle with Gaga. Grumps says at Spicy Dill Pickle cannot complain. Cheers, yourself.
Max Mayfield says zebra. Gaga Grumps says your word starting with Z, please, Gabby.
Spicy Dill Pickle says at Grumps, not doing too good, glad you're okay.
Grumps says at Chris Marvin you'll need to create 19 accounts and rotate them.
Gavin Withgubby says zebra.
Max Mayfield says zebra. Gaga Grumps says hi Max, welcome. Max Mayfield says zebra.
Max Mayfield says zebra.
Gavin Withgubby says Max, stop.
Gaga Grumps says zebra you got.
Grumps says it's Spicy Dill Pickle oh dear. Crossing my fingers. Welcome Amelia Jellyfish to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says don't spam Max, it's Gabby's word.
Pickle says a GRUMPS thank you, just mental health sucks.
Gaga Grumps says wipeouts in the chat.
Gabin with Gabi says chops.
Max Mayfield says pilot.
Grump says it Chris Marvin all in the dedication. You could set up like those troll farms where they have dozens.
Gaga Grumps says no plurals in Wordle. Max Mayfield says pilot.
Welcome Vigil Van Dykadits. Closing parenthesis
Grump
to Wordle
says
with
if Chris
Gaga.
Marvin have phones on a rack with auto tappers and whatnot.
Virgil Van Digidus says thumb please.
Gaga Grumps says pilot fits. Gaga Grumps says yellow L and O in need of homes.
Max Mayfield says Lokes.
Gaga Grumps says hi Virgil thumb doesn't fit. Gaga Grumps says no plurals Max.
Max Mayfield says locks.
Amelia says at Max_Mayfield, that's plural.
Gaga Grumps says lousy fits. Locks is still plural. Amelia says plurals end in slide. Gaga Grumps says O and U live at 2 and 3L still homeless.
Welcome favored Nyams to Wordle with Gaga.
Favor at Niam says could would.
Max Mayfield says domes.
Amelia says could.
Max Mayfield says
Gaga Grumps says could works.
Amelia says Jode.
Gaga Grumps says are there more than 2 guesses?
Amelia says would or Jud.
Gaga Grumps says do we need a filter? Gaga Grumps says is Joel the word?
Max Mayfield says moldy.
Amelia says I'll Google it.
Max Mayfield says mold.
Amelia says no, it's not.
Amelia says woodworks.
Gaga Grumps says yeah Max, we're checking for a trap so we don't run out of guesses and lose. Gaga Grumps says gonna trust it's just the two.
Welcome Evelyn to Wordle with Gaga.
Amelia says wood.
Gaga Grumps says wood for Wordle in 6. Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
Welcome in, guys. Settle down. Grab your heartbeat. Share us round. Now tap that screen. Tap it, tap that screen. Yeah, tap it. It's
Gaga Grumps says welcome Gremlins to the game grotto. Take a seat. Grab your daily heart. Claim your points and prepare to play.
Gang Gremlins on the scene. Gang Gremlins on the scene. Gang Gremlins on the scene. Now tap that screen. Tap it, tap that screen. Yeah, tap it. Gang Gremlins coming, let's go. Now tap that screen. Tap it, tap that screen. Yeah, tap it.
Gaga Grumps says treasure box up if you need a coin for your daily heart.
Gang Gremlins on the scene. Now tap that screen. Now tap that screen.
Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid.
Now tap that screen. Gang Gremlins on the scene.
Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now.
Amelia says SRL.
Gaga Grumps says wow Grumps is a lucky boy today.
Amelia says quill.
Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. Q. Gaga Grumps says hi Skylar.
Welcome Skylar to Wordle with Gaga.
Thanks for the follow.
Amelia says quill.
Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Like a thong, race to the top, like a thon, tap and don't stop, like a thon, who will be crowned like a thon, gremlin renowned.
Gaga Grumps says thanks for following Skylar.
Fingers on fire like a thon, gremlins don't tire like a thon, hearts beat flying.
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance.
Amelia says quill.
Gaga Grumps says your word starting with Q, please, Amelia.
Welcome Eva to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says quill you got. Gaga Grumps says a yellow eye in need of a home.
Amelia says igloo.
Welcome ZZ to Wordle with Gaga.
Amelia says never mind.
ZZZ says in tow.
Gaga Grumps says ditch fits.
ZZZ says itches.
ZZZ says itchy.
Gaga Grumps says home T and C joined our eye.
Amelia says twice. Ms. Lynn says stoic.
Amelia says twice pulse.
ZZZ says itchy.
Gaga Grumps says hi ZZ, no plurals.
Amelia says twice.
Amelia says twice.
Gaga Grumps says can't be twice, I doesn't go there.
Amelia says oh.
Gaga Grumps says no H for itchy.
Ms. Lynn says stoic.
Gaga Grumps says stoic fits, and so apt. I've just finished Seneca's letters from the
Welcome
stoic
Caden
age.
Lost to Wordle with Gaga.
Thanks for the follow.
Muslin says tonic.
Welcome Wolsev to Wordle with Gaga.
Wilsev says hello.
Miss Lynn says topic.
Gaga Grumps says we end in IC and O and T are homeless. Gaga Grumps says hey Will. Gaga Grumps says thanks for the follow Caden.
Welcome,
Gaga
Gabby,
Grumps
to
says
Wordle with
let's try
Gaga.
tonic first.
Thanks for the follow.
Gabby says topic.
Gabby says toxic.
Gaga Grumps says and of course not. Gaga Grumps says thanks for following Will.
Gabby says toxic or topic.
Gaga Grumps says oh no topic. Quick check for an extra trap.
Welcome EAKD to Wordle with Gaga.
Leela D says could be P.
Leelad says filler. Kurza Chubaton says topic.
Welcome to Wordle with Gaga.
Will Siv says not P.
Gaga Grumps says we have 2 guesses and 2 options, no filter needed.
Muslin says there's only 2.
Gaga Grumps says always the wrong 50 lol. Muslin says send.
It's playtime! Gaga is in the box!
Caden Moss says WP.
Don't let her loose! Grumps is on the buttons!
Good game.
Don't let him push you!
Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
Good game.
Which team are you on? Team Gaga, give a cheer.
Good
Team
game.
Grumps, are you here? Team Gaga, are you ready? Team Grumps, are you steady? Game! Gremlins, let's go! Game! Gremlins, let's go! Team Gaga, Gaga, Gaga,
Gaga Grumps says do the do for Gaga. Share the live, chat the chat and shower her with roses and GGs.
Team Gaga, are you ready? Team Grumps, are you steady? Game! Gremlins, let's go! Game! Gremlins, let's go! Game! Gremlins, let's go! Game! Gremlins, let's go! Game! Gremlins, let's go!
Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next word. Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. G. Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Like a thumb, race to the top, like a thon. Tap and don't stop, like a thon. Who will be crowned like a thon?
Welcome Sarum to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says he smashed the second light goal, awesome tapping. Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance. Gaga Grumps says thanks for the rainbow Sarum. Gaga Grumps says your word starting with G, please, Mrs. LHYN. Muslin says gnome. Gaga Grumps says gnome you got.
Sarum says globe.
Gaga Grumps says wheel chose the correct letter. Mrs. LHYN chose a great word.
Miss Lynn says glove.
Gaga Grumps says globe fits.
Sarum says yes.
Fireworks for Gaga.
Welcome all other people to
Lynn
Wordle
says
with Gaga.
nice.
It's summer for Miss Explode 'em on
Gaga
her
Grumps
face. She's
says
in
fireworks
happy
for Sarum and
place.
Mrs. Lynn.
Fireworks for Gaga. Wordle within 3, so gifts explode with glee. Fireworks for Gaga. Emojis make her happy, as in her face they slappy. Fireworks for Gaga. Fireworks for Gaga. From a single rose to a whole bouquet, anything will be okay. If you can, that's okay. Smileys in chat still win the day. Fireworks for Gaga.
Good game.
Fireworks for Gaga. Fireworks
Good
for
game.
Gaga.
Welcome Tom Kelly to Wordle with Gaga.
Fireworks for Gaga.
Good game.
Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat. Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle.
PH7 says hello.
Gaga Grumps says PH7
Welcome PH
in
to
the
Wordle
house.
with Gaga. Grumps says at PH7 welcome back.
Gaga Grumps says thanks for doing your daily heart PH7. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. P. Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Like a thong, race to the top, like a thon. Tap and don't stop, like a thon. Who will be crowned like a thon? Gremlin renowned, like a thon. Fingers on fire, like a thon. Gremlins don't tire, like
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance.
gremlins define.
Gaga Grumps says your word starting with P, please Grumps.
Grumps says Pater.
Gaga Grumps says Pater you got.
PH7 says mod.fi.
Gaga Grumps says Agrina lives at number 2 Wordle Street.
Miss Lynn says bacon.
Gaga Grumps says Mafia fits. Gaga Grumps says eliminations FTW. Gaga Grumps says bacon still works.
Fireworks for Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says okay fireworks for Mrs. Lynn.
Explode 'em on her face, she's in a happy place. Fireworks for Gaga. Wordle
Gaga
within
Grumps
three,
says
so
GG
gifts explode
Gremlins.
with glee.
Let's see those W's in the
Fireworks for
chat.
Gaga. Emoji
Sarum says leaving.
Welcome xjar.hxx to Wordle with Gaga.
Sarum says leaving.
Grump says of Sarum later.
Gaga Grump says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat. Gaga Grump says bye bye Sarum. Gaga Grump says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid. Gaga Grump says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grump says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. Gaga Grump says we are starting with A. K. Gaga Grump says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Like a thong, race to the top, like a thon. Tap and don't stop, like a thon. Who will be crowned like a thon? Gremlin renowned, like a thon. Fingers on fire, like a thon. Gremlins don't tire, like a thon. Hearts beat flying, like a thon.
Gaga Grump says play the lottery tonight. Gaga Grump says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance. Gaga Grump says crash the third like goal this race. Gaga Grump says your word starting with K please Mrs. LHYN.
Ms. Lynn says cocky.
Gaga Grump says just 200 more. Gaga Grump says khaki you got.
It's a Wordle wipeout. No letters to shout.
Gaga Grump says wipeouts in the chat.
Lost in the grid, can't figure it out. Oh no. Wipeout.
Miss Lynn says pouch.
Grumps says at Davy hi. Welcome Sophie M
Gaga
to Wordle
Grumps
with
says
Gaga.
no H for pouch.
Grumps says at Sophie 432 heya.
SOPHIEM for 3 says truce.
Muslin says power. Gaga Grumps says hi Sophie truce fits. Gaga Grumps says a yellow U in need of a home. 9 letters wiped from the game. Sophie M 432 says pulls.
Will Surf says hello.
Welcome Elliot to Wordle with Gaga.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Gaga Grumps says no plurals in Wordle Sophie.
Will Sev says gift, then Elliot.
Gaga Grumps says hi Will. Gaga Grumps says thanks for doing your daily heart Elliot.
Safim for 3 says funny.
Elliot says how are you? Gaga Grumps says funny works.
Welcome Trina to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says I'm doing good tar, you?
Trina says evening all.
We would be honored if you would join us.
It's a performance evening!
Elliot says I'm doing great.
In a happy place, fireworks for Gaga.
Welcome Crystal to Wordle with Gaga.
Within 3, so gifts explode with glee.
Gaga Grumps says fireworks for Sophie.
Emojis make her happy.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Fireworks for Gaga. Fireworks for Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says Wordle in 3. Let's see those fireworks. Gifts and emojis will explode on Gaga's face.
If you can, that's okay. Smileys in chat still win the day. Fireworks for Gaga. Fireworks for Gaga. Fireworks
Grumps
for
says at Trina welcome back.
Fireworks for Gaga.
Good game.
Trina says at Grumps thank you.
Grumps says at Elliot hello there.
Gaga Grumps says Crystal and Trina sneak in during fireworks. Gaga Grumps says thanks for doing your daily heart both of you. Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid.
Will Sev says love you geese XX.
Crystal says welcome.
Grumps says at Crystal oi oi, hello.
Gaga Grumps says so you should be uber lovable lol. Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now.
Trina says any wipeouts yet.
Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. K again. Gaga Grumps says the last K game was Wipeout. Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Like a thong, race to the top, like a thon. Tap and don't stop, like a thon. Who will be crowned like a thon? Gremlin renowned like a thon. Fingers on fire like a thon. Gremlins don't tire like a thon. Hearts
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance. Gaga Grumps says your word starting with K please Mrs. LHYN. Muslin says khaki. Gaga Grumps says haha trying again are you? Gaga Grumps says khaki you got. Gaga Grumps says no wipeout this time. A yellow A in need of a home.
Ms. Lynn says party.
Gaga Grumps says party fits. Gaga Grumps says alives at number 2 Wordle Street T needs a new home.
Ms. Lynn says baton.
Gaga Grumps says baton works. Gaga Grumps says we added a home.
Welcome Jigs to Wordle with Gaga.
Ms. Lynn says table.
Jix says table.
Gaga Grumps says hi Eternal and Jix. Table is a good shout. Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
Wordle with Gaga.
Good game.
Wordle with Gaga. Will the fireworks
Good game.
A random star chosen by fate. Play your part, it's a live date. Wordle with Gaga. Wordle with Gaga. Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says do you do the daily Wordle? I post mine on my page and would love you to share your results.
Get it in 3, it's do or die, only in 3.
Gaga Grumps says treasure box up if you need a coin for your daily heart.
Wordle with
Good
Gaga.
game.
Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid. Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now.
Trina says tea is eaten. I'm ready to play.
Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. F.
Grumps says at Trina Core. How strong is your tea you have to eat it?
Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Jix says final.
Like a thumb, race to the top, like a thun. Tap and don't stop, like a thun. Who will be crowned like a thun? Gremlin
Trina says at Grumps so posh and say dinner do we.
fingers on fire, like a thun. Gremlins don't tire, like a thun. Hearts be flying like
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance.
lights the fire, lights the fire, lights the fire.
Gaga Grumps says your word starting with F please Jimmy.
Grumps says at Trina tonight I may call it takeaway. Welcome
We would be
BLSSOM.VXZ to Wordle with Gaga.
Jimmy says flies.
Wolson VXZ says hello.
Grumps says at BL0SM.VXZ heya.
Gaga Grumps says hey there Blossom. Gaga Grumps says flies you got. Gaga Grumps says thanks for doing your daily heart Blossom.
Grumps says treasure box is open. Welcome Just Patriotic
Trina
to Wordle
says
with
at
Gaga.
Grumps, good shout if you do.
Gaga Grumps says yellow L and S in need of new homes.
Ms. Lynn says lousy.
Wolson VXZ says splat.
Welcome Daffy
Jig
Linda
says
PA to
score.
Wordle with Gaga.
Just Patriotic says slump.
Gaga Grumps says lousy fits.
Cherry Freezy says slippy.
Wolson VXZ says splat.
Gaga Grumps says no change except eliminations.
Daffy Linda PA says should.
Jix says spoon.
Daffy Linda Paw says SM.
Ms. Lynn says salad.
Welcome to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says splat works. Daffy Linda PA says slee.
Daffy Linda PA says splash.
Welcome Nora Hansen to Wordle with Gaga.
Lexi Iriby says slack.
Nora Hansen says slate.
Gaga Grumps says S lives at number 1, L and are still homeless.
Just Patriotic says shall.
Daffy Linda PA says slave.
Miss Lynn says scold.
Wolsom VXZ says shell.
Gaga Grumps says L can't be in number 2.
Jimmy says scald.
Nora Hansen says slate.
Daffy Linda PA says shall.
Gaga Grumps says running shall because it will definitely place the L.
Good game.
It's playtime! Gaga is in the box!
BL some VXC says shall.
Grumps is on the buttons! Don't let him
Bro,
push
some
yours!
VXC says,
Are you
need a
ready to
fill of wood.
play? Let those stickers fly!
Good game.
Which team are you on? Team Gaga, give a cheer. Team Grumps, are you here? Team Gaga,
Good
are
game.
you ready?
Gaga Grumps says and he gave us all home.
Gremlins, let's go! Hey, Gremlins, let's go!
Daffy Linda PA says stall.
BLO Som VXE says skull small.
Blow some VXE says small.
Daffy Linda PA says small.
Good game. Good game.
Ms. Lynn says small only.
Good game. Good game.
Gaga Grumps says small it must be. Daffy Linda PA says it is. Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat. Gaga Grumps says do the do for Gaga. Share the live chat and shower her with roses and GGs. Gaga Grumps says TTS is struggling for some reason.
Daffy Linda PA says radio.
Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid. Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now.
Daffy Linda Pa says radio.
Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. K for the third time today.
Welcome LL Creative to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Like a thumb, race to the top, like a thun. Tap and don't stop, like a thun. Who will be crowned like a thun? Gremlin renowned like a thun.
Gaga Grumps says what time do you call this creative?
Gremlins don't tire like a thun. Hearts keep flying like a thun. Gremlins defying.
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Welcome Shay to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says thanks for doing your daily heart shot. Gaga Grumps says your word starting with K please creative. Gaga Grumps says cos sods law Chris. Gaga Grumps says thanks for the roses Trina.
A creative one says kinds.
Gaga Grumps says kinds you got. Gaga Grumps says a yellow eye in need of a home.
Trina says fairy.
Gaga Grumps says fairy fits.
The creative one says pears.
Gaga Grumps says I lives at number 3.
Trina says chime.
Gaga Grumps says chime works. Gaga Grumps says no change. Trina says quilt. Gaga Grumps says built is a shout.
It's playtime!
Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
Grumps is on the buttons! Don't let him push yours! Are you ready to play? Let those stickers fly! Which team are you on? Team Gaga, give it
Gaga Grumps says do the do for Gaga. Share the live, chat the chat and shower her with roses and GGs.
Welcome Millar to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says if you haven't done it yet, grab your daily heart while I set up the next grid.
Game! Gremlins, let's go! Game! Gremlins, let's go! Game! Gremlins, let's go!
Gaga Grumps says this will be the last grid of the day. Gaga Grumps says let's play Wordle. Gaga Grumps says what letter will the wheel choose? Predictions in the chat now. Gaga Grumps says we are starting with A. O. Gaga Grumps says leaderboard reset incoming. Tap those screens. The one wearing the crown at the end of the song chooses the first word.
Like a thumb, race to the top, like a thon. Tap and don't stop, like a thon. Who will be crowned like a thon? Gremlin renowned like a thon.
Gaga Grumps says might help if I push the song button.
Gremlins don't tire like a thon. Hearts beat flying like a thon. Gremlins defy.
Gaga Grumps says I've given you the beat, now let's see your fingers dance. Gaga Grumps says can you crash the fifth right goal before the end of the line? Gaga Grumps says your word starting with O please Trina.
Trina says course we can. And opera please.
Gaga Grumps says opera you got.
Well, Creative One says good word.
Gaga Grumps says challenge accepted lol. Gaga Grumps says a yellow O in need of a home.
Kans Jimti says mon.
Gaga Grumps says mature is 6 letters.
Or Creative One says found.
Gaga Grumps says mound fits.
Welcome to Wordle with Gaga.
Trina says joust.
Gaga Grumps says oh, and you live at 2 and 2 Wordle Street.
Oh, Creative 1 says south.
Gaga Grumps says like Golmet. Awesome tapping fingers. Gyeongsu 1 fan says fouls.
Welcome Gyeongsu #fan to Wordle with Gaga.
Gaga Grumps says me too, Chris.
Gyeongsu 1 fan says fouls.
Gaga Grumps says joust fits. Gyeongsu 1 fan says touch. Gaga Grumps says a yellow tea in need of a home.
Jake says touch.
Gyeongsu 1 fan says it's touch.
Gaga Grumps says touch is a good shout.
Good game.
Well, Creative 1 says touch.
Good game. Good game.
Gaga Grumps says GG Gremlins. Let's see those W's in the chat.
The Creative 1 says bye-bye.
Gaga Grumps says thanks for joining me to play Wordle. I will be back at 4 PM UK tomorrow for more Wordle with Gaga.